Hello Internet, I'm the Disney Brain and welcome to the Girl Meets World review. Last time, we had ourselves a kind of fun but pretty forgettable episode. This time around, the Christmas season is upon us as we welcome in yet another holiday episode. Oh joy. Or at least, that obvious bit of sarcasm was my initial reaction. How does this holiday special stack up against the others? Well, let's find out. Spoiler warning now, you know the drill. With all that said, let's dive into Girl Meets A Christmas Maya. We kick things off with Riley, not surprisingly, fully embracing the holiday season, but Maya is a bit more apprehensive towards this time of year because Katie and her never really had the funds to support the kind of Christmas celebrations other people have, and she's still worried about potentially ruining things with Sean, which is honestly kind of fair since he literally hasn't shown up once since the wedding, and no, he doesn't show up here either, but we'll get into that. So, Riley is excited about doing Secret Santa, which provides our second plotline. Nobody outside of Riley seems overly enthusiastic about the idea, but the kicker here is that it serves as a means to truly test how much this friend group really knows about each other. Obviously, if Riley or Maya got each other, or if Farkle or Smackle got each other, pretty easy. But this episode smartly avoided that to allow characters that don't usually interact to buy presents for each other. A good setup as far as these things go. Oh yeah, and Smackle is finally back. You guys knew I just had to throw that in there. Unfortunately, we also have the return of Ava. Now, to her credit, she's not all that bad here. In fact, her portrayal of Maya for a few seconds there is actually some of her best work on the show. But the whole thing with the story and Augie not really adding anything to the episode, and Topanga filling her normal role as Ava's rival more than anything else, it's all kind of just there. The production that Riley puts on afterwards, however, does have a few interesting moments, and, as I mentioned, some pretty good stuff from Ava playing Maya. That moment was made even more potent when you realize the value of the gift Katie gave Maya that one Christmas, that being friends and education. So, for that moment alone, I can more or less overlook some of the overly cheesy shortcomings leading up to it. Returning to Secret Santa, the cast has now purchased and exchanged their gifts, but, as it turns out, not only are the gifts not what anyone thought they wanted, but they seem kind of hurtful, especially to Smackle and Farkle. Then, all of a sudden, the cast slowly starts to reveal the reasonings behind their gifts, and the pure character moments that come out of it are nothing short of transcendent. I've talked about how Girl Meets Bay Window was an exceptional episode because it understood its concept perfectly. This moment symbolizes a similar understanding, but with characters. Give the writers a hand here, guys. They absolutely nailed this. And I know I was hard on Riley back in Girl Meets Monster, maybe a little too much, but right on time, she reminds me of why I love her as a character. Then, we get a small bit with Augie playing the role of Sean and Corey playing the role of Chet, which will be a nice flashback for the Boy Meets World fans among us. And that's Girl Meets A Christmas Maya, an episode that built itself up like just another goofy throwaway holiday special, and then, from seemingly out of the blue, gives us an immaculate moment with the main cast, minus Lucas. Some parts feel like they're kind of just there to fill the holiday checklist, but the parts that are good are very good, and the Secret Santa scene in particular is amazing. The Maya parts that justify the title are okay, but I would argue that they didn't take that aspect of it seriously enough. So there's a major tone shift when you go from Nebraska accent to Topanga to Farkle holding a piece of his past and not being sure what to make of it. I would say the thing that really holds this episode back, however, is that there are way too many moving parts. Neither the Ava Augie side plot nor the play it mixed into was really all that necessary to the larger picture, and again, they could have done something a bit more meaningful with Maya, seeing as how the episode is named after her. Now, let's talk about Sean, who is still a no-show when it comes to these major obstacles that his wife and his daughter are facing. In any other episode, it would have been more of an issue, but I think using Sean more as hidden symbolism for embracing the present despite the crazy past does work here on a narrative level. I think they could have brought him back and maybe used him in some good ways, and maybe that adds a bit more weight to what Maya's going through. But in this particular case, him not being there while still having a large presence in the story works more so than it did with previous episodes where it made way less sense to not have him around. That does sound like a lot of criticism, but in reality, I do like a lot of what they chose to do with this episode. It was never going to capture the same everybody's back vibe of Home for the Holidays, but it still could have provided a more intricate story structure, and if it did that, it would arguably be one of the best episodes of the show to date. That having been said, the gift exchange was a pretty perfect moment. You could argue that Lucas should have been there for this, and I'd be tempted to agree, but we'll never see that version of this episode. It's similar to how Smackle being in Great Lady probably would have made that all-time excellent episode even better, at least as far as I'm concerned. But again, there's no way to really know. But as is, I don't know if there's a better moment shared among this cast to date. There have been plenty of great character moments, both individually and as pairs, but nothing as truly great as having most of the main cast experience this journey of discovery together. A lot of that is in the great setup. Both us and the characters have a good idea of who actually interacts with each other. In fact, I pointed out a few reviews ago how Smackle and Maya basically never talk. but they prove to know each other on much deeper levels despite that, because they've been through all of these life-changing experiences together. And during those experiences, whether it's Smackle trying to change some of her quirks, Farkle trying to understand his past, or Maya trying to put herself back together, they're always there for each other. These gifts don't just represent one-off ideas, they really symbolize the characters and their journeys in varying ways, even with Zay, because neither the audience nor the cast themselves knows enough about him yet, and that's kind of his definitive trait so far. Outside of his continued knack for comedic timing, of course. It's one of the best executed ideas the minds behind this show have had so far, and I hope we keep getting incredible character moments like these, because I think it's episodes like these that really remind us of why we love these characters, and for me, that's what the best shows are really all about. All in all, what we have here is a really good episode that could have been truly great. It's certainly beyond what we've come to expect from Disney Channel holiday-themed episodes, especially the annoying Halloween ones, but it also represents genuine quality on its own terms. And what's also nice is that the cast have matured enough to the point where they can have these amazing interactions and discoveries without the need for Mr. Matthews to step in with a lesson plan. He won't always be around to guide them, so it was nice to see them really guide themselves here, while the grown-ups, ironically enough, were off handling less important tasks. These last couple of episodes have been shaky at best, but even with the more dubious aspects of this episode, I would say Girl Meets World is definitely back on the upward swing. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait until 2017 to see if the trend continues. A relatively long wait, but hopefully worth it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, leave a like, sub for more, and share the spirit of Christmas everywhere. And don't forget to follow the Disney Brain on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Links down below. The coming days will finally bring the next Ranger Countdown, and the return of the Boy Meets World reviews as we dive into Season 5. So, lots to look forward to. Until then...
Happy cheese dog, boy. This time, I am gonna stay forever. Well, gotta go.